Hello, everybody. It's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Gary Grigsby's Bombing the Reich. In today's episode, we are going to be playing the September 6th turn. In our last day's combat, we destroyed, I think, like 35 or so enemy F-190s, mostly on the ground. We destroyed over 100 enemy aircraft on the ground. We lost about 60. We destroyed over 100 enemy aircraft, more than half of those on the ground. We lost about 60 aircraft in the air. We launched a bombing raid. Where was it even? I think we went toward the U-boat factories at Bremen here, the second largest U-boat factory on the map with the Americans. And then we also we ordered a night bombing raid of, I think it was Munster over here, but it was weird. It was like all the night fighters flew, but the bombers didn't, or something, because we didn't lose a single bomber, first of all, but we didn't do any damage at all to Munster either, and Munster should be inside the 350-mile radius where oboe and G radars work, so it doesn't even matter if you can't see anything. You follow the radar beam to the target, so not sure what happened there. Today we are doing kind of more of a shotgun approach. I am going to... The weather hasn't been great the last few days. I think it's a little better today. Still 25%. But it's better over Northern Europe than Germany, where it's a 53% cloud cover. We are going for a shotgun approach in that we're going to hit as many targets as we can in the Lille and Ghent areas. So we're going to go ahead and hit a rubber factory here, a small rubber factory, only capacity 2. A level 5 power plant at Langerbrugge. We're going to go ahead and hit the Electrion oil refinery, a very small, minimal-size oil refinery. We're also going to hit the Bergonen rubber works, which, again, another small capacity 2. The Ethanite Bunawerke, which is another rubber factory, capacity 1. The Lesquin Chemwerk, which is a capacity 2 chemical plant. And then we've got a couple of sweeps trying to hit enemy airfields where we know there's enemy aircraft on the ground, or at least we think there are enemy aircraft on the ground. Likewise, we're going to go ahead and go for Dunkirk, the port of Dunkirk. And then, just generally speaking, I think that's about it. I think we are also launching one bombing raid of Valdrin Gewehrfabrik, which is a small arms plant. And then just a lot of recon flights on different airfields to kind of get an updated picture of where they may have moved fighters. And we're also going to go ahead and bomb the oil refineries near Amsterdam. There's one oil refinery, the Bata Fische Petroleum Refinery in Amsterdam. So we'll be going for that. And then at night, we're going to go ahead and bomb Dortmund with about 500 bombers, all Lancasters. And then we're going to hit Herne just to the west of Dortmund with 495 bombers, mostly Sterlings and Halifaxes. The reason we're hitting both those cities is they're kind of sister cities nestled right up against each other. Their urban area, this little circle area here, is they overlap a little bit, and so we're going to fly in west to east so that the bomb... Well, actually, no, sorry. We're going to fly in... I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. Yeah, we're going to fly in past Herne, then fly south. The bomb track hopefully will move northeast, so that as the target gets saturated and as the bombs sort of naturally pull off to the northeast, because that's the direction the bombers will be flying in from, they'll track into Dortmund. So any bombs that go long will add to the damage that Dortmund receives, and hopefully that's good enough for us to damage both targets heavily. So if we take a look here, you can see in terms of the bombing raids, 500 bombers hitting Dortmund, 495 bombers hitting Herne, 231 bombers hitting the SASIC rubber plant, 187 hitting the SA Ethanite rubber plant. These 187, I think, are all tornadoes, or sorry, typhoons. We've also got 163 hitting the power plant, again, typhoons. And then we've got 128 hitting the chem work at Lesquin, 104 hitting the troops in Italy, so we are also doing some Italian raids today. You can see here we take this off. We're hitting the airfield at Bari again, where there's 42 Italian fighters, which were roughed up pretty badly yesterday. We're hitting the 29th Panzer Grenadier Truppen, which has been badly mauled already. You can see its combat values at 10% of what it was not long ago. The same is true for the 26th Panzer Grenadier Truppens with 149 combat value. I believe they're getting very badly damaged because we keep hitting them while they're on the march, so they're much more exposed and easier to hurt. And then we are also going to try and expand the number of units that we're badly mauling by going after the Hermann Goering Panzer Troop. It's hard to hit too much in Italy because we're at such the extreme end of our range. The enemy fighters are right on top of where our raids will be. Our fighters can't base out of Italy anywhere yet, and so that's kind of a problem. We are getting real close to pushing toward Naples and Foggia, which would be nice to start seeing some of these airfields turn into Allied control, but for the moment, we haven't. One other thing, I think someone asked, and this was a while ago, they asked about the Tuskegee Airmen in the game, which I believe is represented by the 99th Fighter Group here, the 99th Fighter Squadron. So they are flying. We've used them in 17 missions so far. So they've flown almost every day since the 17th of August. We have lost 6 aircraft of their P-40Ls. We have lost 2 in air-to-air combat. We have lost 3 pilots killed, 2 missing in action. We have shot down 3 German aircraft, and we have 1 ground kill with them. They're doing mainly air-to-air stuff at the moment, which is probably a little ahistorical while they're flying the P-40s. But in terms of getting the airfields to turn on in Italy, I think it's just a matter of waiting. The invasion of Italy started 3 days ago, so we've been pushing up through the boot. I don't think technically the Salerno landings happen for like another 10 days, but the 8th Army's been pushing slowly up through southern Italy. And I think it's just a matter of like actually having those airfields set up by the AI. We don't have to do anything for that. With that being said, that's kind of everything that we need to talk about before we end the turn and look at the replay. So let's go ahead and end the turn and look at the replay. We did lose 25 B-17s yesterday, so we had a bit of a rough day for the B-17s in our raid on Bremen. They had been losing almost nothing in the days prior to that, so it was a little bit of a change of pace there. It was a rough day. BLX, in terms of losing the war, no, you can't really lose the war, but you can have your breakouts from Italy and Normandy and other places get delayed due to insufficient air superiority or the enemy having too many aircraft. Again, you're not going to lose the war, but the Western Allies could progress more slowly than they did historically. So that would be considered a defeat in the game. You can lose as in you get fired from your job if you're not doing a good enough job. If you haven't inflicted enough damage on the enemy and they're too strong, there's sort of a sliding victory. These points down here represent victory points, and every so often it evaluates how many you have. And if you're not doing well enough, then basically you'll get canned because you're doing too poor of a job. All right. So I'd say most of our recon looks like it's going to be hitting clear skies. There are some patch along the coast to the east of Dunkirk and a little bit further south of where most of our targets are for the day. You've got a pretty solid wall of clouds, but it looks like most of the aircraft that we have going in, at least so far, are hitting open skies for what they see. Okay. Le Havre. All right, let's actually, and I did also change the recon flights. It said sunrise was 6:23, so rather than ordering my planes to start flying at 6 a.m. and having all those missions delayed and thrown into chaos because there isn't sufficient light for those aircraft to take off, we waited till after sunrise to start our missions. Do you have any impact on acquisition of types of aircraft? So aircraft will be assigned based on the aircraft they historically used. You can swap out aircraft. So I've taken 3 British tactical bomber units and given them B-24s because we ran out of the type of aircraft that they were flying. So the British are flying some B-24s, which actually allows me to do daylight strategic bombing with the British, basically, which is kind of a historical amusement. So like you can swap aircraft out based on what you have sort of in the pools and reserve, but you don't actually control production for the Allies. You do, if you play the Germans, have the ability to control production, acquisition, and then also research priorities. So that is something the Germans have control of. Kind of like in War in the Pacific, the Allies in War in the Pacific really can't control the aircraft that they get. It's sort of determined by mostly off-map production because most of the Allied factories are off-map. But the Japanese in that game control their economy effectively completely, outside of being able to lay down new ships because most large ships took too long to build. It wouldn't make sense to allow you to do that. Hey, Seabass. All right, so we're running into more cloud cover as some of these missions are heading further east and outside of that window we'd talked about of good air. I will also say Italy is supposed to have a very good weather report today, only 8% cloud cover in Italy. So we should be able to get a nice day in Italy, at least in terms of recon. I believe every single recon plane I had available that was in condition to fly today is flying. We basically did another low country route of trying to see where all the fighters are in Holland and sort of along the Ruhr, based as far as we can get with our own fighter coverage. All right, let's speed things up just a little bit. The recon process shouldn't take this long. So we'll get ahead to, I think our first bombing flights don't take place until like 10 o'clock-ish. So we'll jump ahead a little bit. Oh, here we go. So we got some Spitfires strafing Schurvis airfield. Looks like the Germans did move in some anti-aircraft guns. Our recon from 2 days ago said there was nothing, but we just saw one of our aircraft get destroyed by flak. They are hitting Bf-109Gs on the ground. You can see 2 have been damaged, 3 have been destroyed already. So hopefully they do some good there. Meanwhile, they are destroying, it looks like a 37mm anti-aircraft gun. Doesn't seem like too much ACAC is here. We're destroying actually quite a few enemy aircraft without too much in the way of losses. A lot of 109s getting strafed on the ground here. So we lost 1 aircraft to flak in that first group of 12 or 13 aircraft. Second group of 17 coming in here, hitting the field. Another 20 coming in here. That second group didn't do anywhere near as well. Third group here. I couldn't tell if that was multiple 109s because it stayed on that 109 destroyed for a long time, or if it was just the game running slowly for a second here. We could turn the sound effects on, by the way. The game does include like diving sound effects of like and then like flak sound effects. But I don't know. That feels like it would get a little bit repetitive. Dikuai, which I mistakenly pronounced as the Kool-Aid airfield last time around, getting hit again. Looks like they did move some flak in there as well. Still 190s at this one, doing some damage. Damaging quite a few of them on the ground here. Now with our current targets in Holland, these actual airfields are Holland and Belgium. These airfields are within range of intercepting those raids. So these aircraft being damaged or destroyed on the ground will materially aid the bombers going in and out. We do have a much better setup for fighter escorts than we did on the last day's turn. So hopefully, we won't see as much in the way of bomber casualties. We lost 25 B-17s. That's all, not quite Schweinfurt level of bad, but still pretty damn bad. 250 airmen went down with those aircraft, either POWs or killed. Okay. Not quite getting as many of these 190s here at Dikui airfield here. We're getting some. And again, the enemy flak seems fairly ineffectual so far, so that's good news for us. Especially since the Mustangs I sent in here are not particularly good in ground attack. They're fairly vulnerable, but we're certainly at least damaging a lot of these 190s. You can see from the previous raids, we had destroyed 14 enemy aircraft all on the ground, losing 4 of our own. We're up to 22 German aircraft now. Okay, so that does it for those first couple sweeps. I think we've got some of our bombing raids coming in now. We've also got some Spitfires hitting Fallville. they're strafing, but it also looks like there's German aircraft there. So I don't know if they're like, are they taking off or did they already get off the ground? It doesn't say. You know, those are at 4,000 feet, so they must have gotten off just before we arrived, at least some of them. I'm surprised we're not picking any of these guys off as they're taking off. You'd think that would be an absolutely an absolute slaughter, but I guess some of these guys got up. F-190s. One of them got destroyed there. They're bouncing. So our squadrons dove on the field. The enemy took off just in time, I guess, to bounce us now on our way in or out. So we got some 190s bouncing our aircraft here. We're losing some Spitfires. Oh, nice. But that one attacked a 190 as it attempted to land and destroyed it. Got another 190 as it's attempting to land and it's destroying it. So there you go. Very obviously, that's what you want, right? Destroy enemy aircraft as they try and land. That is when they are the most vulnerable. And these Spitfire 5Bs appear to have ambushed a bunch of 190s coming in for landing. Hell yeah, brothers. Get them. Pilots aren't going to be able to bail out because they're going to be at extremely low altitude. Eat it. Get them. Woo! Perfect timing on that raid. I don't think we've seen that happen yet in this gameplay, but we might obliterate an F-190 squadron. Jesus, this is a lot. These are all pilots, too. Yeah! Keep it up, boys. Oh my God, it just keeps going. Yeah! Get them all! Oh my God, that was a lot. We're up to 35 enemy aircraft destroyed, and at least, I think, 10 or so of those were in the air. Meanwhile, we're out over Italy now. You can see enemy formations here scrambling to intercept our bombers hitting the 29th Panzer Grenadier Truppen. The one positive we have is that the enemy radar coverage is very limited because of our advance into Italy. You can see they won't have much warning on any of these raids. The bad news is they're more at the end of our range for our fighters, so we won't be able to have as much fighter coverage either. Yeah, I mean, intercepting enemies when they're trying to land is always great. Obviously, it was a particular strategy around the time the 262 was in action, but it's not like that was the first time that folks ever were like, hey, this is a really good idea. All right, so we're hitting the 29th. They're already in pretty rough shape. We're losing a few aircraft to flak here. Now, the main reason for hitting the infantry, because the game really rates victory based on factories destroyed, aircraft destroyed, those kind of things. It's not as concerned with the ground war, but the thing you can influence by damaging enemy ground units is if the enemy units that are guarding the front are in worse shape than historical, you can actually cause an early breakout, which can, obviously an earlier end of the war is good from a victory point of view. All right, we're engaging some 109s over Italy. They're going for our B-26s here, I think. B-26s had a rough day yesterday. What did we lose, like 20 of the damn things? That was a real rough day for a medium bomber. Historically, again, they were very safe aircraft. Despite the reputation of being kind of dangerous, they were safe in a combat point of view because they were typically so fast they'd get in and out on targets before the enemy knew what hit them and before they'd have time to respond. And obviously a faster bomber is harder to plot an intercept course for. And we've been doing pretty well with limiting damage to our B-26s, but yesterday was sort of an exception. Meanwhile, strafing the enemy aircraft here at Bari, getting a couple of these MC-202s on the ground. There was an airfield at Taranto with 40 aircraft, but they must have redeployed those aircraft. That airfield was, I don't know if it was overrun, but there is no more. The enemy at least pulled out of that airfield. You can see it doesn't exist anymore. Dun, dun, dun. Get 'em, boys, get 'em. Shoot them. Shoot 'em. I'm a great singer. I will say this about AI music. It is better at singing than me. That's not really saying much, but... All right. Quite a few MC-202s being destroyed. I wonder if it's actually better for you not to destroy the Italian aircraft, because it makes it clear based on the unit pools that Italian units will join the Allies at some point. So I don't know if like refusing to destroy them will actually result in you getting more aircraft for your side than, you know, later, but we are putting on a show finish. It's too bad you didn't get a chance to do a poll today, because I think we would have overperformed. I'm getting ahead of myself, perhaps. We haven't even, the B-17s haven't even flown yet. We got 1,000 British bombers going into a heavy flak area. We'll see. 109's firing rockets. That's what the WGR-210s are, air-to-air rockets. Bouncing B-26s. We do have escorts with them. They're doing pretty well, the escorts. We had a lot in our flight the other day. We had a lot more air-to-air kills than usual. That may have been because I went more with top cover than I had been doing previously. I was going with flying high escort rather than close escort. Close escort tends to reduce the amount of bombers that are damaged, but high escorts are better at engaging enemy fighters. So, all right, so our Typhoons are going down. You can see there's almost no German fighter cover here over Ghent and Lille. These bombers are going in without any Germans anywhere near them. So they're hitting, the B-24s hit their target, you know, without any opposition. The Typhoons and Hurricanes are hitting this power plant without, I think it's a power plant. Maybe it's not. Rubber plant. Without any enemy opposition. So going in, clear weather, no enemy aircraft to bother us. Should give good results, I would hope. More rockets being fired at B-26s. Looks like one of them managed to hit and destroy it. I'd say that's one issue I take with Masters of the Air. I think they make B-17s look way more survivable for rockets in that show than they were. Pretty sure most of the time those aircraft got hit by rockets, it was not good news. B-24 is hitting this Panzer Grenadier unit. I believe because the disruption is so high, and maybe because they're on the road, you are getting a lot of enemy vehicles destroyed. You remember in the pre-invasion period when the units were just sitting around, we'd hit with 60 B-17s and the enemy would lose almost nothing. But it's almost like these B-24s dropped a stick along a road that just obliterated a column of AFVs there. We're up to 51 enemy aircraft lost. P-38s engaging MC-202s. 20 Spitfires engaging German fighters over the channel. They didn't shoot anyone down, though. They just damaged them. MC-202 destroyed near Naples. The Italian squadron breaks off the action. We are also driving a lot of the action here. This is an uncharacteristic number of times where our fighters are engaging the enemy rather than the other way around. It seems like we are getting the better of them. It seemed like it was true yesterday. It seems like it's true today as well. I don't know what has changed. I don't know if the German fatigue levels have gotten to a point where they're flying very tired crews. I don't know if it's just better altitude management on my part, but it sure seems like the air-to-air results are favoring us more than they had been before, where previously it felt like we were getting absolutely wrecked relative to the losses we were inflicting. Now that seems to have flipped on its head a little bit anyway. You can see we're still losing some aircraft. All right, BG-303 over the target southeast of Lille. These are the B-17s hitting the Chemwerk. Looks like they're bombing on target as well. A nice open set of clouds here, or basically just a clearing here over Holland and the Netherlands. Worked out well for us. Spitfires, who had been escorting the B-17s, are feeling so emboldened they drop down to strafe the railroads. Spitfire 7s engaging 2001 Falcos. B-17 destroyed by flak. Now they're hitting the Hermann Göring Panzergruppe. Another one getting hit by flak. It doesn't look like the Hermann Göring one is getting too badly damaged. It must come just down to disruption in terms of how effectively you bomb targets, ground targets, and inflict damage on them. F-190A5 destroyed in the skies. Another one destroyed in the sky. Man, I don't know if giddy might be the wrong word, but I'm hitting all those 190s landing. Woo! Tingly. 109 crashed on landing. That's enemy aircraft number 60, sorry. I don't think we're going to get to 100 enemy aircraft again today, but the percentage of aircraft that were destroyed in the air compared to yesterday, I think even though we may get fewer aircraft, I think the impact of the aircraft we are getting here is dramatically better than last time. Like, us losing 40 aircraft in the air and shooting down 40 enemy aircraft in the air and 20 on the ground, massively better than us shooting down 40 enemy aircraft in the air and 60 on the ground. Again, the Germans never really ran out of aircraft per se. It was fuel and pilots that were the problem. There we go. Will the RAF night action cause... I didn't see what... Is there a damage estimate? D-520 crashes while landing. P-38 crashes while landing. I don't know that we've seen these 55s engaging us before. That's interesting. All right. I think we have another B-17 raid in the evening at over France, I think. Or afternoon. Maybe not. Oh, we got... Well, I think some of these are our recon flights. Oh. Mustang destroyed by flak. It's okay. We got whirlwinds hitting Dunkirk. Oh, a firestorm? That's going to be kind of a judgment call, isn't it, Finish? I don't know that the game says firestorm created. But if you see a big block of red, I don't know. Do you trust Finish's judgment, you guys? What's he betting on? Is this a Otani situation? Is my mod going to place bets on my behalf and then I'll throw the game? Okay. 190 just fired a rocket. You're betting through a proxy. His name is Tortuga Power. Oh, no. All right, recon. We should be almost to the night raid here. P-47s jumping 109s there. That's that second B-17 raid coming in on SASIC. West of Brussels. Doesn't look like the bombers took much of any enemy fire before they got to their target. A number of enemy aircraft are gonna attack us in a moment, but it looks like we got to the target before they hit. And we do have P-47s dropping in on these Germans. They're hitting these enemy formations before they get to us. You just saw we got 109 there. Germans then engaged our Spitfires, and some of them are making it through to the bombers. So 16 109s attacking the bomber formation. 109's attacking the P-47's formation, and actually the 109 took took a big L. 16 Thunderbolts engaging the enemy. Meanwhile, our that wing of fighters, all they did was take damage. But yeah, those Thunderbolts, I'm a big Thunderbolt fan. We've been saying it the last few turns. I know everybody loves to say the Mustang is when the air war turned, and maybe that is the case. But I think if you were to say which fighter was the most instrumental in winning the air war over Europe, I'm gonna go with the P-47. That might not be true, but they got drop tanks too. They could go deep into enemy territory. P-47. Sorry, Thunderbolt, not Lightning. Did I say Lightning? All right. So we got some recon going. We got these Typhoons attacking this power plant now. Are all these enemy aircraft scrambling to come after this raid? Oh, well, I was specifically talking Europe, Pistol. Okay, looks like the Typhoons got out of there pretty well. F-190 crashed on landing. One more bomber group coming in at almost 4:30. B-26 Marauders heading the oil refinery, the Electrion oil refinery. No enemy fighters in sight. This is what happens, though. You hit them continuously over 10 hours, and eventually the enemy fighters cannot mount an effective resistance to your raids here. They've flown too much already. Yeah, Seabass. I think the interceptors all got used up trying to go after the B-17s, an hour before. There's only so many times you can throw your pilots up there, but it looks like we are now into the night raids here. Hopefully we get some real... Yeah, we got Lancasters flying, so... Ju-88's hitting the front of the column. Some heavy weather preventing some of our bombers from flying. All right. So the 97th Squadron mission is delayed. Well, this doesn't seem like it's as good of a start here for us. With multiple bombers delaying, the enemy fighters do appear to be hitting our column. Doesn't seem like our RCMs... I don't even know if they flew. You can see the Mosquitoes did start some nice fires here. I don't think... It's not a firestorm, obviously, yet, but... Also, we are losing more to flak than we had previously, probably because they've got that mobile flak unit there. And we're seeing quite a bit of enemy night fighter activity here, which we had not previously seen for the most part. The P-50... So, Pistol, you're talking about the wrong variant of the 51, though. No one... The early versions of the 51 with the different engine did not change the bombing campaign in a measurable way. There's a reason the 47s are escorting the bombers at the moment, and that's because the P-51 variant available to us is not good enough to operate at, 20,000 feet. Interesting that our bombs appear to be falling long. Like, they're still in the Dortmund area, but most of our bombs are falling in almost the extreme eastern edge of Dortmund. They're definitely dropping here. We got a nice concentration of these fires going, so hopefully that does does a considerable amount of damage here to the city. You got this nice brick here of 6 hexes, 6 square miles of flame. Thank you for the follow, Narrow Towel. So the 500 bombers hitting Dortmund, I believe, are all Lancasters. Meanwhile, the 495 bombers hitting Herne are mostly, I think there's like 50 Lancasters, and the rest are Sterlings and Halifaxes. Night Fighter got us. But yeah, I don't know if this counts as a firestorm, but this whole southwestern corner of Dortmund is getting ravaged pretty effectively here. The P-40 changed the air war against the Axis. Bombs falling in Dortmund area. I believe we're at 97,000 terror damage before today. I'm curious how many of these fires will completely knock out their hexes versus just turning them yellow. But that is a very concentrated block of fire. Radar bombing on point, boys. Dortmund had been largely unimpacted by the bombing, unlike Essen to its west. There hadn't been much damage. There was a little bit. Obviously, it had been bombed before, but it wasn't a, you can see big chunks of the city, no indication of damage at all. More Lancasters hitting. It's probably also, because I sent 500 bombers, which your mileage may vary when you send 500 bombers. But we sent 500 bombers, and they're all Lancasters. So they're all the big boys. They're all the, a disproportionate percentage of the throw weight, if you will, of the RAF, all focused in on Dortmund tonight. What ratio, Hugo? That is a solid, that's almost a 5x5 block now. It looks like, or 5x4 maybe? Not quite sure. You've seen enough? He's calling it. He's calling it. Yes! Dortmund, half of it looks to be aflame right now, boys. I need the Saving Private Ryan sound effect from the flamethrower scene. The only bad thing is these German night fighters are all over the column. We haven't actually lost that many bombers yet, but that is a lot of night fighters. We're going to speed things up a bit. So the Sterlings are hitting now. So Herna's getting hit. Oh boy. If there wasn't a firestorm in Dortmund, Herne, look at this. This small portion, this much smaller city here, completely aflame. You can see we've destroyed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It looks like 13 square miles of Dortmund are completely burned out. Also, some of these bombs are falling on Glenskirchen, which we didn't even target. But these black squares represent a completely destroyed square mile of city. This is a bad night for the Germans. Oh my goodness, the fire's spreading up here to the port of Glenskirchen as well. And what the hell happened up here? What did somebody drop bombs over Munster? They decided we didn't hit it yesterday. We're just going to go and hit it today. Bad to be in a mid-sized German city in this game. Because what I don't care, right? Like if I'm hitting Berlin, I might send 1,000 bombers. If I'm hitting Dortmund, I might send 1,000 bombers. If I'm hitting Herne, I'll send 1,000 bombers. I don't care how big your city is. You're getting the full might of the RAF. Oh my God. So I got the string that I had been hoping for, where the bombs extended further, as the raid went on, but it ended up targeting a completely untargeted city. All right. We are losing a decent number of aircraft. I don't think... Oh my... Yeah, that port is also completely destroyed. All right, let's stop here for a second before we speed through the remainder, because I think all the bombs are out. But oh boy. So we got those square miles in Dortmund we talked about. In addition, at least 5 more square miles in Herne. The Glenkirchen port looks like it's probably completely destroyed, so that'll help us from a logistics point of view. And several square miles in that neighboring city as well. All right. I don't think my night fighters did anything at all. I don't know who Guy Gibson is, Hauser. All right. So, firestorms in flight. All right, so some more German units are moving around in Italy. All right. So let's take a look. So Dortmund, we're going to have to wait for intel. We'll have to wait till a recon flight can fly tomorrow to see what the actual damage updates to. But at least based off the preliminary results, that's a 4x4 line of complete destruction north to south here. And then another 3 square miles off the east and west. So that is, 14 square miles of Dortmund destroyed, where I don't think any of them had been previously total. There had been damage in Dortmund, but nothing had been totally destroyed. 7 square miles of Herne totally destroyed. The rest of the city is at least somewhat damaged. And then Glenkirchen, some damage, and then the port there pretty much totally destroyed as well. Meanwhile, looks like most of the stuff we bombed around the Lille-Ghent area was badly hit. Again, we probably need to do some updated recon to make sure these aren't just eager pilots claiming damage that wasn't real. But these rubber plants, these chemical plants, at least the preliminary reports are pretty good hits. If we take a look at the actual size of the formations here, again, discount the damage percentage here for the night bombers because there's no post-bombing assessment on those things. It does it for daylight raids, but not night raids for whatever reason. So the rubber plant SIC 231 B-17s hit the target, and we only lost 1. 1 out of 231 B-17 shot down. 8 enemy interceptors lost, 1 friendly fighter. The 187 Typhoons that hit the rubber plant Ethanite, 100% damage without a loss. 163 Typhoons that hit the power plant at Langerbrugge, totally destroyed without loss. 128 B-17s at the chemical factory at Lesquin. 3 were shot down. 6 enemy interceptors. 104 bombers hit the Hermann Goering Panzer unit there. Lost 5 bombers. 5 interceptors lost. Meanwhile, the night raid, not as pretty in terms of losses. I mean, we lost 27 British bombers tonight. 13 at Dortmund. 14 at Herne. But I think we can say that the damage inflicted was worth it. That's what? Less than a 2%? Is that right? Less than a 2% loss rate? No, that's more than a 2% loss rate. I can't do freaking math. 2.6% loss rate. Still nowhere near the disastrous 5% rate at certain periods of the war. Probably sustainable around 2%, 2.8 for the other raid. Well, he's only wounded, so that's good news. Hauser, most famous bomber pilot of the war. So the terror bombing score went up by 2,000 to 99,737. If we get this over 100,000, then we'll see our terror score jump to 10. Meanwhile, our strategic bombing score went from about 900 to 1325, so a very effective daylight day. And so that industry damage score went from a 1 to a 2. Enemy ready aircraft dropped from about 2,800 to 2,600 after this day. So good there. They have 1,400 damaged aircraft versus 3,400 of ours. Highest Axis aircraft loss, 27 Bf-109G6s. They lost 14 pilots KIA, 35 pilots wounded in action. Meanwhile, we lost 29 pilots KIA, but also 25 MIA. So MIA and KIA are effectively the same thing for the Allies. So much heavier losses in terms of permanently lost crews, but oh well. It's the price of waging a war in the air almost entirely over enemy territory. Interesting that the Wellington III was our heaviest aircraft loss of the day. Western Europe significantly worse, stormy. Okay. Aircraft losses here. So 6 B-17s are lost today. That's not bad at all. 7 Spitfire 9s. 7 Wellington 3s. 6 Sterling 3s. 1 Halifax 5. 4 Halifax 2s. 1 Lancaster 2. 5 Lancaster 1s. 1 Lancaster 3. The enemy lost 18 MC-202s. 18 F-190A5s. 27 Bf-109G6s. 4,100 Allied sorties against 1,800 German. 80 Axis aircraft loss versus 64 Allied. Top pilots, anyone in ace yet? Nope, still no one with more than 4 kills. Yeah, okay. Still stuck on Avalanche for our missions. A very bad weather day over France. 71% cloud cover over Western Europe. 40% over Italy, so that's also not great. Still no sign of any airfields being set up in Italy. Although it looks like the advance has now passed over Foggia. Again, I think this is just simulated a bit because I don't even think Sicily and Salerno. I don't think not Salerno. Is it Salerno? Yeah, I don't think Salerno has actually happened yet. I think that's on like the 13th. But in any event, we've already apparently taken Foggia, and the enemy's being driven back. They still got troops around Naples, but these other guys to the northeast of Naples are pulling back. Presumably, they're going to set up their historical defensive lines somewhere around here. Is it the Gothic line? I can't remember. But it's going to be hard if I can't, we're putting more and more of our units out of reach. Hermann Goering's still moved. So they're down to 1,200 assault value. I wonder if, because these guys are so heavily disrupted, if they can't move. Because neither of these 2 ground units has moved yet. It'd be pretty cool if we destroyed 2, a mechanized and an armored unit. Gustav line? Gothic was further north, you're right. Anyway, Italy, 40% cloud cover. France, 71%. So it seems like a day where you bomb Germany, right? It seems like what the weather's calling for. Looks like the recon. So we did get a recon flight over Bremen. The original intel said 61% damage, but the recon flight says 75, so good day there. I don't know if it's a bomb, honestly. With the weather over Germany is great. The weather over France is disastrously bad. 70% cloud cover. You try and come in at 6,000 feet. Do some real low-level strafing, maybe, on some of these enemy airfields. Maybe we give the B-17s the day off and just go in with P-47s. 44 fighters at Gladbach. No flak. That is tempting as hell. Can anything get there, though? Gotta come in low. So 420, what's the range? What can hit? So the Mustangs can, well, they're pretty badly beat up, though. If you look at their fatigue and their readiness levels, these guys have less than 10 aircraft in most of their squadrons, so probably not ideal to use them. P-47s, on the other hand, could go in and wreak havoc. No YB-29 pistol. So the 8th Air Force is probably our best chance to hit those fighters. But with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode of War... Oh my goodness, War in the Pacific. I wish. No, that's going to do it for today's episode of Gary Grigsby's Bombing the Reich, episode number 10 in our Let's Play series as we progress through the war. The game started on August 17th. It is now September 7th, so we've made it through, 3 weeks of combat? I feel like we're starting to have an impact on the war. Certainly the British seem to be doing well enough. But we'll see how things play out next time. Until next time, however, this is the Historical Gamer, saying once again, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out.